Hi. This case was a mixture of coaching, some suggestions, and a lot of discussion. Our business experiences had been quite similar, so we found that chatting was often the best way forward. In August 2015, James was recommended to me by a client. Aged mid-50s, he'd been a successful property developer, but he'd had 2 heart attacks. And he told me, I don't socialise anymore because my main friends belong to the rugby club, and that's, of course, a heavy drinking environment. I've lost my desire to work, even from home, and the thought of getting out and viewing properties fills me with dread. He was waiting to have a 3rd heart operation that his specialist felt could restore some of his former vitality. But actually that wasn't going to happen for 2 or 3 months on from that. I started by asking James to identify key areas in his life and allocate scores to each. The client chooses 8 or so key aspects and then scores each out of 10 according to the current situation. Well, of his 8 chosen areas, James only rated 2 of them higher than 5 out of 10. And the 3 categories of health, fun, and work-life balance, he'd only given 3 out of 10. Family and partner was rated at 7. His wife, Amanda, very dynamic woman, is self-employed. And although she was supportive, she felt he should try harder. So that was why it was a 7 rather than an 8 or 9. So I said, looking at your scores, where would you like to start? James said, work-life balance would be a good place. I'm not active, I sit at home all day, I need a kick up the butt. So I said, okay, let's look ahead. What would you like to have achieved by August 2016? That was 1 year forward. He said, I'd like to have bought, refurbished and sold 2 properties with a net profit of £60,000. So I said, that sounds pretty positive. Take yourself forward to when you have achieved that. This process works well because it strengthens the commitment to work towards the goals. So James, how are you feeling now? He said, oh, it feels great. I feel as though I'm back on top of my life. What's Amanda saying? She's looking and sounding very happy. Excellent, now we've got a long-term goal. So where do we start? How long is it since you last negotiated a deal? He said, I'm ashamed to say it's more than a year. So I said, how long does a typical deal take from locating a property to selling it? He said, well, they're all different, but on average, I'd say 6 to 8 months. So if you want to achieve your 12-month goal, we'd better get moving, wouldn't you agree? Yes, definitely, said James. So I said, talk me through the process of locating and refurbishing a property so we can start to discuss possible ways forward. He explained the process and said, although he had many contacts in property and finance, he'd not been in touch with them for months. And he was really a bit unsure about how to proceed. I said, think back to the time when you were at the top of your game. What worked best for you then? Oh, he said, I used to drive miles looking at properties. I don't want to go back to that. So I said, well, how else could you approach this? He said, well, there's a lot more information online these days. I could subscribe to some blogs. One of them specialises in listing rundown properties. So he agreed that would be his first action. And I said, well, apart from the blogs, what else could you do in the next couple of weeks? Well, he identified several options, but the 2 that he felt should be done first were getting the communications back on track and up to speed with market conditions. So he said, I'll check my list and restart those lapsed conversations. I also need to get up to speed with the market. Okay, so when will you start reviewing your list? And he said, I'll do that today, once we've finished this. So I said, how many people will you contact and how are you going to reopen the conversations? He said, oh, just 20 or so to begin with. I'll send a personal email and then I'll phone them. So I said, what about the research? Where does that fit in? He said, yeah, right. I'll be more comfortable sending my emails once I'm up to speed. Good point. So when will you start your research? So he said he'd get into that within the next few days. And he was looking forward to telling Amanda about the progress we'd made. After the first 6 months, we revisited his life issues, and his scores were now considerably better. Health had been 3, was now 6. He'd had his operation in November and was feeling more confident about the future. This is never going to be really much better than 6, but it's a significant gain. And his work-life balance had gone up from 3 to 7, and it's getting better all the time, he said. Fun went from 3 to 6. He still misses the rugby club, but his social life is definitely improving, especially since his operation. And family went up from 7 to 9. James said his commitments to me had dragged him out of his apathy, and he was certainly much more optimistic and lively each time we spoke. By January 2016, he'd already closed one property deal that would finalise before Easter. And that was going to take him more than 60% of the way towards his original 12-month goal. We've carried on working together, and he gave me the following testimonial. I've worked with Brian since mid-2015. He's been immense in helping me regain my focus, set new goals, and put a much more positive face on both my business and personal life. For me, the key to having a good coach is that there is mutual respect, and Brian has the corporate background and life skills that match my own in many ways. The coaching sessions that we have had are not just centred around a strict format, rather a two-way exchange of ideas and views, and a commitment to action to keep me moving forward. The concept of coaching is not new to me, and I like Brian's methods and style, which are relaxed, informative, and overall reassuring in that you're on the right path to getting towards your goals. I wish Brian every success in the future, and I'll maintain my contact with him without doubt. JGM. And we have kept in contact. I had lunch with him and Amanda no more than 2 months ago. So check out my website to see whether I could help you resolve some of your issues. You'll find me at www.brianthomascoaching.com. Thanks very much for listening. Bye.